Hi everyone, Angela here. I'm using quilting cotton to make this fun pot holder. I'm using my 9.5-inch template with the silicone grips on the back to cut out 2 squares for the front and back. Cut another fabric square for the front contrast. Cut another square out of non-woven lightweight interfacing with the glue dots on one side. Another out of cotton batting. And also one out of heat-reflective Insul-Bright. This project was inspired by Alenka. I'll leave a link to her channel down below. For the binding, I'm using the contrast fabric and cutting a 2-inch strip along the crosswise grain. Cut away the selvage edges and then match the outer edges and press along the center. Open up and fold the outer edges towards the center, leaving about 1/8 inch gap. Once that's done, match the folded edges and press in half. Even though we didn't cut along the bias of the fabric, there's still a little bit of stretch. With right sides up, stack the 2 front pieces together. Find the center at the top and then draw a curvy line to the bottom. About the midpoint between the center and the edge, draw another wavy line and then repeat on the other side. Draw each line slightly different and then cut both layers from the bottom, leaving a tiny bit together at the top. With the glue side up, place one of the squares on top of the interfacing with the solid edge on the left side. Then place the other fabric with the solid edge at the top. This piece needs to be slightly in from the edge and up from the bottom. Lift up all the top strips and the second and bottom strip of the fabric underneath. Now carefully weave together, making sure that all the edges are connecting nice and tight. Once that's done, give it a good press and also press it on the back to make sure it's fused together. Have the back piece with wrong side up and then stack the Insul-Bright batting and front piece on top and then clip all around. I'm using a Brother NV50S sewing machine. The link for this and the tools I use are in the description below. Make sure to use coupon code NOTCHES NV50S for the special offer. I'm setting to a zigzag stitch with the length of 2.5 and the maximum width. Stitch each seam from the top, curving down to the bottom. Center your seam with the center mark on the presser foot as you're sewing. If you need to, use a walking foot and set your machine to a slower speed. If you're finding this video helpful, make sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on all notifications, and leave a comment below. Remove all the clips, and you can see it's got a cute patchwork feel to it with a nice quilted design on the back. Next, trim about 3/8 inch off each side. Zigzag all around the outer edges. This will flatten it out and make it easier to attach the binding. Open up your binding and then match the zigzag edge to the back edge of the binding. Fold it over and just make sure that the center crease of the binding is right on top of the edge. Pin through all the layers near the fold and then just check on the back to make sure you've pinned through the binding. Stretch it a little bit and continue pinning it along the edge. When you get to the corner, gently stretch it over and pin the next side. At the corner, lift one side of the binding right up, push in the other side to the top, and adjust the bottom edges so they meet, creating a mitered corner. Crease with your fingers and then repeat on the back in the opposite direction. If you want, you can give each side of the corner a press before clipping it in place. When you're back to the first corner, cut your binding 3.5 inches from the edge. Set your machine for a straight stitch. Fold the end of the binding with right sides together, matching the folded edges. Then stitch with the 1/4 inch seam allowance, back tacking at the start and finish. Trim each corner and then turn right side out and poke out the corner. Move this end out of the way before stitching the binding. Have the folded edge of the binding run along the inside edge of the presser foot. Use a tool like an awl or a point turner to help you keep the binding edge in place. At the corners, stitch just past the folded edge, have your needle down, lift the foot and pivot. When you get close to the end, trim the thread. Because this corner will have the most stress, back tack here, continue stitching the binding, and back tack to finish. Fold the strap onto the back and have the end about 1/4 inch past the end of the binding. We'll stitch across here in line with the stitching, and we'll start our stitching from the center of the binding and not from the edge. Stitch back and forth a few times between the edges of the binding. You now have a nice neat loop with a finished end, and all of the binding is caught on the back as well. Thanks again for watching. Make sure to check out my video up next.